Randall Randall.
You probably know the saying, good things must come to an end. And just like that, the Mizzou Tigers wrapping up their final home series of the season. Welcome to the Mizzou Hockey Pregame Show, brought to you by Jim Butler Centralia, the exclusive automotive partner. Good evening, everyone. Luca Vitale joining me in Pap Rocky, Owen Becker. And guys, we got the final home series of the season for the Mizzou Tigers. It's crazy to even believe we just opened the calendar year, and this is it at the Jeff. So let's take a look here. That Mizzou taking on MACHA division rival Dallas Baptist. They are 11-8 with a shootout loss and a tie. And meanwhile, Missouri 15-2-1. They just split a series split against Arkansas on the road. They're number 10 now, Arkansas. And Dallas Baptist, they've picked up some momentum as of late. They won back-to-back series to begin the new calendar year against Grand Canyon University and Texas Tech. So let's sort of go into the new rankings before we get going with this Arkansas recap. So let's take a look at these new rankings here. Mizzou entering the new year at number 4 now in the new rankings, the highest ranking in their program history. So, Owen, let's start with you here. What does this say about this team?
Well, I'll tell you, Luca, this team in this ranking did not come about easy. Mizzou has scratched and clawed like a tiger up the rankings this season, and they've played good competition. They've played opponents that were ranked higher than them, opponents that were seen as better than them throughout the season. And Mizzou has consistently put in the work. They've shown up, and they have beaten competition that is at their level. They swept Missouri State, who is there was the potential that people were saying, Missouri State could sweep Mizzou that series. They beat Arkansas 3 out of 4 times, and despite how they played last series, they did at least beat them once. And they hung close with Purdue for 2 games. They beat WashU, who was ranked. Mizzou has just consistently shown up, and they've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat, as well as contending with the teams that they aren't supposed to beat. And while we haven't seen them play a team like Grand Valley State or Hope College or one of those top-ranked teams, I think Mizzou has showed this season that they have the ability and capacity to play at that high level with teams like that.
Yeah, nicely said. I'll put this in a different perspective. So top 4. So there's only 3 teams above this team right now. Lawrence Tech at 3, Florida Gulf Coast at 2, and Grand Valley State at 1. Those 3 teams are some of the best programs in D3 history. So keep that in mind when we're talking about sort of things like that. And Mizzou obviously will not get a chance to take on one of those teams until Nationals, if they so to be able to take on a team like a Grand Valley State. But Grand Valley State did play Missouri State this year. It was a close one, so obviously you can use that as a litmus test because Mizzou did play Missouri State. So we could sort of take a look at that. Florida Gulf Coast and Lawrence Tech, there's nothing to really measure in terms of common opponents that Mizzou took on. So that sort of ordeal, but teams that are below them, I think is what really points out to me, is Hope College. Mizzou lost out. They got trounced by Hope College in Nationals last year. I think it was 8-1 was the final score, if I'm not mistaken. Michigan's below them. Michigan State's below them. Air Force, which Air Force has the leading 2 goal scorers in D3, which is incredible. So in Mizzou, the highest ranking or highest goal scorer they have in the D3 rankings is below 20. So that's definitely something to look at. But I think this is definitely a great ranking for them, and they've proven that even though they can't win every game the way they want to win it because it's just maybe they didn't play the best of their ability, good teams always find ways to win, whether they're ugly or if it's good.
Yeah, I just think it's the consistency that's been key for Mizzou. Obviously, a couple of rough games here and there, but, every team's going to have that no matter how good you are. And I think Mizzou has done a really nice job of bouncing back from those games. Obviously, the Purdue games they bounced back from. We'll see how they bounce back from the Arkansas loss. But really, I mean, I agree with everything that both of you said, especially Owen mentioning just the consistency and ability to play, not only well against the teams that they're supposed to beat, but the teams like the Missouri State and the Arkansas and the other teams that are ranked in the ACHA rankings. I think Missouri has just been a model of consistency all year, and it's been fun to watch. But, I mean, we're getting towards the time where it's going to matter the most. And so they're just going to need to, really be able to continue that consistency and that kind of model that they've built throughout the season.
Yeah, and going to this Arkansas series, right? Oh, when you mentioned that was their fourth meeting the entire season. Mizzou has taken 3 of them. This used to be a one-sided rivalry, but this year and last year, tables have sort of turned. So we'll see what that is in the upcoming future, because not only is Mizzou going D2, so is Arkansas. So that rivalry will probably be renewed, just at a higher level. So going into this, Mizzou split this series, and the first game they won 6-4. Second game they lost 8-5. So very high scoring affair, sort of like what it was in November when they hosted Arkansas. But Owen, your biggest takeaway from Mizzou's first matchup of the new calendar year?
Yeah, well, we had theorized before the series that going into 2024 there might be some rust that the Tigers need to shake off, and that was certainly apparent. I think Mizzou fans could probably just hope that it was rust and that it's not emblematic of a larger issue. At the start of the year, there were some, especially the Purdue series, there were some issues, defensive zone turnovers, just generally sloppy play, and Mizzou had, for the most part, cleaned that up, and they had played several solid series, and they kind of went back to that. Some old demons kind of emerged during that Arkansas series. They were sloppy. The goaltending wasn't where it needed to be. The defense seemed out of position. The defensive zone turnovers, again, they really weren't rolling 4 lines effectively. And so my biggest takeaway is that is still, they're not done with that. That can still happen. Those problems from the start of the season can still pop up. And so they have to stay diligent. They have to stay resilient to continually, battle that and keep playing smart, good, fundamental hockey. Hopefully this Dallas Baptist series, not to take their opponents lightly, but it could be a bit of a refresher series. It could be a bit of a get-right game going into the last stretch of the season on those away games they have.
Yeah, and I think my biggest takeaway, besides that Charlie Walker is continuing to be Charlie Walker, I mean, he's been fantastic the last couple of months, honestly. And the first line is what really got me, because they finally got their mojo back. The last couple of series, they just haven't been the same. It just looked like they were they were just a little stagnant. They weren't the same as they were back in September and October. And they found that mojo in Springdale. Napper and Spolec both having 2 goals in that first game, so that's always something that you need to be able to see, that all lines are contributing. I will say the biggest takeaway I had was the pattern of goals and where they were coming from. The second game specifically, Arkansas got 3 straight goals. They went up 3-0, all those goals coming from the point. And I think that's really concerning if you're a team like Mizzou, because in my opinion, those are goalie fundamentals that you got to be able to stop, especially when there's no traffic. So you got to be able to stop those shots. Mizzou did benefit from that, though. Aaron Hemmer and Andrew Knapp also got over the glove side of Grady Reese, so that was definitely something good to see. And then, obviously, slow starts. You talked about rust. Those were definitely slow starts. Mizzou was down 2-0 with 1.5 minutes into the game. So that was definitely something that you got to be able to go into this Dallas Baptist series and get a fast start. In the second game, they were down 3-0 halfway through the first. And then they did come back and try to tie it. They did actually come back and tie it, but then they were down by 4 at a point again. So definitely something they should correct going in this Dallas Baptist series.
Yeah, I think that when you look at it, obviously it's disappointing to have those slow starts and some of the the sloppiness that we saw, but it's a difficult series. I mean, Arkansas is a very good team. They're a ranked team. You went on the road, played in their barn this time. It was a rowdy atmosphere, outdrew NCAA games on Friday night. So a rowdy atmosphere, a difficult team, a hungry team in Arkansas that has a lot of talent. That's a very difficult series, and to escape with a win, I think is not that bad. I think it's really not the end of the world. I think Mizzou will take that, and they will take the second game of that series and really the overall sloppiness and rust of that series and use it as a learning lesson as they move forward. I think they're definitely going to benefit from what they've learned, and I think they're going to come out and play a lot cleaner style of hockey here against Dallas Baptist.
Yeah, transitioning to this Dallas Baptist series, right? So the good news, there's no injuries on the Mizzou injury front, so great time to start the final home series of this season. A lot of tongue twisters there. But the good news also is 3 new players will be making their home debuts in Mason Buddy, Tyler Williams, and Ethan DeGroat. And Tyler Williams actually earned his first point in his first ACHA game. So that's pretty awesome to see. Meanwhile, Mason Buddy and Ethan DeGroat, they contributed in a different way. They got kicked out in the span of 4 minutes in the first game. So welcome to the ACHA moment, I guess, is one way to put that. You either get a point or you get kicked out. So that's one way. But going into this series against Dallas Baptist, I don't know about you guys, but Dallas Baptist sort of resembles Arkansas's play just a little bit. They're a high-scoring offense. They shoot a lot of pucks on net, and Arkansas does have a better defense and better goaltending, and that's where they sort of differentiate, is Dallas Baptist has struggled goaltending-wise, and they've struggled on the defensive side, which usually you'll see that correlation here or there. So, Owen, what should we expect this weekend?
Well, I think we're expected to see kind of what we saw in the Arkansas series. I think it'll be high scoring. I think it'll be high octane. Dallas Baptist offense isn't as explosive as some other teams we've seen, but they are definitely, a go team. They throw a lot of rubber on net. They get a lot of shots. They shoot it from everywhere. And if some of Mizzou's demons from the Arkansas game kind of creep back in and maybe an unlucky bounce here or there, maybe a few early goals go in for Dallas Baptist, they do have the ability and they do have the capacity to score a lot and to get Mizzou down early. So that's something they really have to watch out for, because if they don't play that smart fundamental hockey and they don't push the attack and they push the considerably weaker Dallas Baptist defense, Mizzou could be in trouble.
So this is what I'm going to say. Christian Beckett is the first thing that should come to anyone's mind when you're watching Dallas Baptist. Christian Beckett is not only not only the best player probably in this division, in my opinion, but even better than Jacob Holmstrom. I'm not even kidding you. Christian Beckett is in the top 20 in points in all of D3 hockey. So that's incredible to even see. And he has 2 games in hand to go along with that. So that's how good Christian Beckett is. But the dynamic duo of Jalen Mendez and Christian Beckett is going to be something that Mizzou is going to have to contain. Jalen Mendez is sort of like Trevor Borlace of Arkansas. He doesn't score a lot, but he finds those playmakers in the low slot in any grade A opportunity sort of spot on the ice. And Christian Beckett is someone that will just capitalize on those opportunities. So Jalen Mendez will be creating space. He's going to be trying to get defenders to try come near him. So that way, that's going to open Christian Beckett on good opportunities, and he's going to capitalize.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about Christian Beckett, I mean, that is a very skilled player, a guy who's fast, a guy who has a great shot, and he's really come into his own this year. He's been a fantastic player for Dallas Baptist, but I mean, he's been one of their go-to guys for a while. He scored in both games against Mizzou last season, so he's a little bit of familiarity with scoring goals against Mizzou. So when it comes to Mizzou and their game plan, it has to be to watch out for him every single time that he's on the ice, because he's going to be a guy that's going to look to wreak a lot of havoc this weekend. And I think looking overall at Dallas Baptist and kind of the overall outlook, look, in Arkansas, a lot of those goals against from Missouri were shots from the point and shots from weird angles and weird places on the ice. And when you look at Dallas Baptist, you look at a team who likes to shoot from a lot of places. They like to get a lot of rubber on the net from anywhere on the ice. So, it's going to be a similar kind of situation for Mizzou in their defense and their goaltenders. So I think something definitely to think about for Mizzou's defense is going to have to be a lot cleaner than it was against Arkansas, or else we're going to get into one of those high-scoring affairs that, it can go either way. And in a game like that where it can go either way, it doesn't help to have a guy like Christian Beckett on the other side that can seemingly score at any point in the game.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And let's sort of take a look at these 3 keys. And before we get to those 3 keys, I just want to throw this stat out. The last time Mizzou and Dallas Baptist played each other was almost 365 days ago. So that's when Mizzou took on Dallas Baptist. At Dallas Baptist, Nick Spolec got a 5-point game in that first game. Mizzou did take the series sweep. Christian Beckett did score 2 goals in that series, just in general fun fact. So, 3 keys. I did speak with Mason Buddy on Mizzou Hockey TV this week, and here, let's take a look at his 3 keys.
Number 1 is just getting pucks on net anywhere, everywhere. Having zone time, so keeping the puck in the O zone as much as we possibly can out of our D zone. And I think the third one was just having fun. I think the last game we kind of lost out on the fun part, and it kind of killed our momentum. But when we were having fun, we were scoring goals and playing a lot better.
So that's Mason Buddy's 3 keys. So, Owen, start us off here.
All right, well, my 3 keys are pretty simple. Numero uno, goaltending. Goaltending has been solid for Mizzou all year. The last series, it was a little bit shaky. I think definitely Jack Dobbs wanted to have some of those goals that he gave up back, and obviously it's not all just on him. The defense is a factor too. But goaltending has to be solid, has to be active. They're going to be facing a lot of shots no matter who's in net. This is a team that could put up 30, 40 shots a game, and you can't get caught lacking. The goaltending for Mizzou is going to have to be good. It's not like they're necessarily going to have to, get batting away high danger chances left and right, unless something, doesn't go very well with Mizzou's defense. But they're going to be facing a lot of shots, and so I think it's going to be up to both Tanner Richardson and Jack Dobbs for this series to, don't let up anything that you really want back, right? Make the easy save. It's the easiest thing you can do, and just do it so your team doesn't get, knocked out of the game. Second key for me, shot blocking. You got to help out your goaltender. I did not like the lack of traffic in the Arkansas series. Like you said, 50% of the goals in that game were from the point. Tigers not doing a good enough job getting bodies in front, blocking shots. Your goaltender can only do so much. You got to help him out. And my last key, don't turn the puck over in the neutral zone. It seems obvious, but that was the real killer in that Arkansas series. You got to control the neutral zone, because if a team like Dallas Baptist gets behind you and they have the firepower that they have, like you were just talking about, it could end pretty poorly for you. So fundamentally, the Tigers just need to make sure that that Dallas Baptist cannot get behind them. And I think if they do all those things, they should win this hockey series.
I like those keys. I really do. So number 1 for me, fast start. This is going to be really important for Mizzou to win, or rather with a series sweep against Dallas Baptist. I think this is really important because they found themselves down 2-0 in the first game. They found themselves down 3-0 in the second game in the first period, I might add. Jack Dobbs got pulled out in game 2 midway through the second period. So Tanner Richardson having very little rest, having to come in that second game to finish it out, which I thought he finished really strong, because the way that game was going, I feel like Arkansas could have dropped 10 on them. It could have been possible. So I feel like that's going to be really important for Mizzou to especially get the home crowd hyped up and for the last time for the season. Let's go to number 2 here. Shut down Christian Beckett. Probably the most important thing that Mizzou needs to do. They've seen Jacob Holmstrom. They've seen Vincent Conti. They've seen Tyler Culleton. They've seen Kyle Cruz. They've seen Connor Chapman. They've done overall a very good job. They were not able to necessarily contain Kyle Cruz in the past series against Arkansas, but they did overall a very good job containing those other playmakers. So containing Christian Beckett is going to be very important. And number 3, cleaning up defensive miscues. Owen, you mentioned it right there. Having communication just on the defensive side of the puck. You can't have someone like Christian Beckett or Jalen Mendez on the doorstep getting easy opportunities on Tanner Richardson or Jack Dobbs. So those are the 3 keys, in my opinion.
Yeah, so for my 3 keys, number 1, I mean, it's important enough that we'll say it again. Stop Christian Beckett. I think that's got to be the number 1 thing that the Tigers have to be focused on. If they can contain Christian Beckett and they can stop him from scoring goals, they're going to have success. They really will. Number 2, don't get complacent. I think that, I'm not going to call Dallas Baptist a light opponent by any means. They're hot. You can't deny that. They've won 4 in a row. But at the same time, you look at the schedule, and there's no denying that Dallas Baptist is one of the easier opponents on Mizzou's schedule. So, you can't get complacent. Obviously coming off an emotional weekend against your biggest rival in Arkansas last weekend, and then next weekend you look ahead, and you got 2 big games, Maryville, and then you've got the Winter Classic, the Flyover Classic against SLU. Huge game to look at. You can't look at it, though, if you're Mizzou. You got to focus on this weekend and just taking care of business. So that's my number 2 key. Number 3 key, I don't even know that we really have to touch on it a whole lot more. It's play fundamentally sound in the defensive zone. We've already mentioned that so much about how important the defense has to be, especially coming off that rough defensive series against Arkansas. It's got to be better. And if it's better, I really do like Mizzou's chances. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game for Mizzou's offense. So if they're able to just play smart in their own defensive zone, I think that they'll be able to take care of business.
All right, in our last segment, we're going to change from pick'em to, Ian?
Pick to click.
Pick to click. So who is going to contribute for Mizzou this weekend? Ian, you came up with the name, so how about you start?
Well, okay. My pick to click for Mizzou this weekend is Spolzy, a.k.a. Captain Nick Spolec. I think he's been just fantastic for Mizzou all year. And look, I mean, he had a 5-point game against Dallas Baptist to start off last year's series. So I'm predicting some of the similar success for Nick Spolec this weekend.
It's a good answer. Also senior weekend, so definitely something to end your senior season with a bang. All right, for me, I'm going to go with the new player. Let's go with Ethan DeGroat. In my opinion, yes, high school hockey is not ACHA hockey. Of course, it's not the same thing, but Ethan DeGroat had over 40 points in 16 games at Francis Howell his senior season. I think it's time that he got his I think he's got settled in after that Arkansas series, and I think this weekend is where we're going to see some contributions from Ethan DeGroat.
Yes, and mine, I'm going to be dramatic. Brett Zimmer. We haven't really touched on the special teams too much, but if Missouri takes a bunch of penalties, there could be, it could turn into a shooting gallery, and Brett Zimmer has been nothing short of a penalty-killing demon this season. He's that kind of guy that every coach loves because he just does everything right. He shows up, he puts in the work, and, he can contribute offense too. He's got a couple goals this season along with some pretty nifty helpers. He showed off his slick hands a few times in that Wash U series. So I think Brett Zimmer could be, he's not going to be scoring the end-to-end super highlight goals unless he does, but he's the kind of guy who could really be a game changer if he can shut down the power play for Dallas Baptist and if he's able to kind of stifle some of their offensive firepower.
All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Mizzou Hockey pregame. Adam Lewis and Aiden O'Connor on the call this evening. And thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.